Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Southern Scrap Nation's podcast. Your host, as always, Daniel Jonas. Back again. Here for our UFC 300 breakdown, as always, for these pay-per-view events. I like to come in and talk a little bit about them. Usually I do news before, but I got something on there. I'm going to kind of move away from that just because nothing's really going on in the news and I don't want to waste a whole 30 minutes talking about things when we can just get right into the fights. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're just going to get right into the event, which is what a card. Personal opinions on it. I like the UFC 300 card as far as like competitively. You look back at UFC 200 and 100 and those cards had a little bit more an entertainment aspect to it. You brought in Brock Lesnar for both of them. I know DC was supposed to fight John Jones, so on UFC 200. So technically, that is like at the time it was one of the it was the most competitive two in the division. But then it changed to DC versus Anderson, kind of a super fight-ish. Looking back at it, I mean that's a pretty big super fight. And then there were other, Misha Tate versus Amanda Nunes for the belt. Then you had, Jim Miller again. You had Jose Aldo versus Frankie Edgar. So they were competitive, but the level of MMA has obviously jumped exponentially in 100 events, plus all the other stuff that was in between. So when you look at the card now, the first card is Cody Garbrandt versus Davis Figueiredo. They're both former champions. And, their styles are pretty similar to when they, not that long, like, they haven't really evolved. But their style is evolved compared to the fighters in UFC 200. So, it just shows that the prelim first fight has two former champions. On top of that, the level and technique that is going to be used in this fight is way better than what we were given 100 events ago. So if you're the UFC, this is perfect. As far as like a drawing standpoint, like buys, pay-per-view buys, and I think it'll do okay. I don't know as far as... The reason why I think it'll do okay is one, people are going to make a party about it. I've already talked to a bunch of people, and I have one friend that's more along the lines of, I want to watch every single one of these fights, so I'm going to buy the pay-per-view and watch it myself with, his lady or whatever at home and make it a night of just watching fights. So you can get the hardcore fans by just giving them a long list of highly competitive, division shaking fights just solely on that, not even like the going into having a Super Bowl-ish party like all my other friends are doing. They're doing like Super Bowl-ish parties where they're having a bunch of people over. So you're going to pull from those two pay-per-view things. I don't know if that's enough to make the Conor pay-per-view or the Masvidal pay-per-view. Conor, no. Ronda, no. But to me, this is like Masvidal-esque, like hype. If you were to have Masvidal on a card and then you were to put UFC 300 next to it, it's like, I don't know, this kind of, even if I was a casual, I'd be like, wow, this card's got everything. So, those are my just opinions. And as far as news in the works, and not going into the news of MMA, but Conor is slated to be announced to fight Michael Chandler at UFC 3, or fight Michael Chandler at International Fight Week. The announcement's going to be at UFC 300. That leans towards what I was saying with the whole Conor and the John Jones thing. You're going to get your big super card with the casual fights at UFC International Fight Week. The stuff that they were supposed to have for UFC 300, which I'll get into when we get later on in the card, but I've talked about this before. This was kind of thrown together at the last minute. They got a bunch of big names, still very good. However, what people were looking for in the John Jones and the Connor and that, big drawing power of pay-per-view monsters and behemoths, you're probably going to get that International Fight Week. Anyway, so let's get into the fights. So starting off, like I said, number 8 in the world at bantamweight, Davidson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Davidson's coming off of a win to Rob Font, why he's number 8 in the world at bantamweight, and Cody's why this fight makes a lot of sense is Cody's on a win streak, regardless of what people think in his career. He got chinned up pretty hard in his past couple his fights before. Oh, he was on a 2-fight win streak. That's it. So never mind. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He was on a 2-fight losing streak, or not even a losing streak. I mean, he just lost 2 fights in a row, and then he won another. Ooh, so let's see. Let's see if we can get statistics off of this. Let's go. Oh man, is Cody one of those fighters? No, because then he was on a okay. So Cody streaked. This is, I think, his 10-fight winning streak or something like that. 11 fights. Then he fights TJ. Loss. Then he fights Pedro Munoz. He loses that fight. Okay, and then he fights Rafael Sunsao. Wins. Loses, wins. No, I can't get really let's see. Loses. Wins. No, I can't really tell. I mean, yeah, his there's no like pattern in his record. I just think this isn't really a good matchup for him. I think Davidson Figueiredo hits equally as hard, and if you want to put them into a firefight, one of them's chin isn't going to hold up comparative to the other. Figueiredo also has wins over Joseph Benavidez. So these Team Alpha Male guys, which I know he's not part of Team Alpha Male anymore. Cody, but he's seen their style before. He kind of knows what to expect. But you look at this guy's record. Win. He lost to Moreno at 125. Beat Moreno, lost to Moreno, draw. And then he beat Perez. First round submission. I mean, this was a brutal one. And so I think he moved up. He went 3 rounds with Rob Font and won a decision at bantamweight. I think he's got a lot more tools too. And if you wanted to just go off of that, Davidson has more tools. Cody Garbrandt has a right hand and some head movement. But I think Cody's style has now completely changed to being evasive, being defensive, which isn't bad. It's good for his career to be that way and not to keep banging his head against the wall and metaphorically banging his head against the wall. And then try to keep landing those shots and taking shots. However, I think this is more for Davison to beat a former champ at the bantamweight division and then maybe fight Dominic Cruz or so, move up the ladder. So I have Davidson in this fight. The way that I could see Cody winning this fight. Let me talk to my underdog guys here. His footwork and his boxing could give Davidson problems. If he's got, Moreno has better boxing than Davidson. So if Cody shows that, his hands are fast and he stuffs takedowns and uses his footwork, but stays true to himself and doesn't try to get crazy, I could see him beating Davidson Figueiredo. If you wanted to be like Mr. Underdog and bet money against underdog guy, Davidson. But I personally, or Cody, you could do Cody because he does have that potential. However, yeah. So I'm just gonna go with Davidson. Make it pretty easy. I can bet against Cody's chin. That's the way I look at it. So next is Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. Jim Miller just wanted to be on UFC 300. He didn't care against 2, but that's the way to do it. Versus Bobby Green. To be honest, this is one where I could put money on Jim Miller. Jim Miller made it his point to be on UFC 300. He just wants this as his last thing. Or, you know, he at least wanted to be on this. This is his last wish in the UFC, if you will. I mean, he'll probably fight after this and whatnot. But as far as what he's done, how many fights he's had in the UFC, what he's done in the UFC, this is kind of the cherry on top. And I think to put the icing on the cake, if, you know, icing on the cake, cherry, if you wanted to really put a stamp on everything that you've done in the UFC, you go out there, you beat Bobby Green, so that way you are on UFC 100, UFC 200, and UFC 300. Pretty sure he won all of those. I'm pretty sure, you know, Astro Boy with that title title. Let me see. Yeah, I gotta go all the way back. Isn't this crazy? Look how many fights this dude's had in the UFC. Damn, I forgot he fought Joe. Jeez. All right, who did he fight at UFC 200? I'm pretty sure. Let me check. If he's won, at UFC 200 and 300, then there is a chance. 20. Oh. That he wins at the. I'm just trying to. Oh, okay, so he beat Taka Norigomi at 200, and then at 100 he beat Mark Danzig. That's where I'm going. I'm going Jim Miller. Also, the way I see it, Jim Miller submits Bobby Green. I think he kicks his leg out from under him. He takes away his movement, takes away his ability to switch step and do all that funky Bobby Green stuff. He stays true to himself behind the jab, behind the right kick. He's southpaw. He just beats up Bobby Green's calf, and then he, I think, chokes out Bobby Green. That's my personal opinion. I'm going to go with Jim fucking Miller on that one. I just think he puts a stamp on UFC 300, and then he rides off into the sunset. Bobby Green was kind of forced to take this fight. Bobby Green, and I mean, they've not been able to make this fight happen a bunch of times, and I think Bobby's pulled out a couple. I don't know how many Jim's pulled out of, but I know Bobby's pulled out, so it's like they're forcing this fight to happen. And I don't know if I mean, I'm sure Bobby is gonna fight. I'm not saying Bobby doesn't want to fight, but what I'm saying is, I think it's more everything was pushed for Jim, and Bobby's kind of like, okay, I guess I'll do this. And you have Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Another one where Jessica Andrade is the favorite and Marina is the underdog. I know Jessica lost her last fight. Oh, no, she won her last fight against Dern. Yeah, she beat Mackenzie Dern up bad. She lost to... This is one where she loses 3 in a row. One girl who could fight for the title, one girl who's fighting for the title, one girl who's the perennial, or who's just the champ waiting in the wings if she can get her life together or injuries together. And then she beat a girl who probably won't ever fight for the title. Beat her. So she's in that. She is a gatekeeper, which is kind of weird because like Lemos fought for the title, but she beat Lema and Murphy fought for the title. And she is fighting Michelle Rodriguez. So there is a chance, or Marina Rodriguez, there is a chance since Marina. But she's only got 3 losses, and her 3 losses are to Jandiroba, Lemos. She beat Jan. She fought Gum. She fought. Why? Weird. Another one where I could say underdog worth putting your money on. Marina Rodriguez. She's not. I mean, she's a dog. She goes forward. I mean, this is a tough one. Jessica Andrade. I'm putting my money on Jessica Andrade. Oh man, that's a tough one. But Marina's got good Muay Thai. Jessica's gonna do that thing where she blitzes to the body, but is she mentally there this fight? That's my biggest thing. They're both coming off wins. It's all about like Jessica's mental. Like if Jessica comes in and she's the girl that beats up Mackenzie Dern, awesome. But if she's the girl that comes in and fights Weili Zhang, no. Fuck. Jessica Andrade. I'm going Jessica Andrade, but you guys see how hard that was for me to make. So if you're putting real money on this, Marina Rodriguez, yeah, you know. And then you have Jalen Turner versus Renato Money Moicano. Jalen Tarantula Turner versus Renato Moicano. I like the odds in this. I like Renato a lot, especially the way he speaks as far as being real about what he's looking for, money and promoting himself and saying all the right things. Jalen's just anatomically really hard to fight, and unless you have someone in your camp who can emulate that, have fun. His coach, Aussie MMA, is one of the best MMA coaches out there, bar none, period. Shout out to Aussie MMA. As far as on a technical acumen and depth of knowledge in the sport, the wealth of that he can pull from is crazy. So I'm gonna definitely go Jalen Turner, but he's one of those. It's like he should have probably won the Dan Hooker fight. The Gamrot fight was a little like he has so much potential, and I think Renato Moicano is like the perfect person to. Yeah, he's in the same lines as like a Riddell. He just has more jiu-jitsu. The thing with jiu-jitsu is you have to get them there. And I think Jalen's got the perfect coach to help him not let someone get him there. And so, yeah, Jalen Turner for sure. Then you have Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. This is ending our early prelims and then starting our regular prelims. And that's starting with Diego Lopez versus Sadiq Youssef. Everyone's so high on Diego Lopez. And, he has come in like a ball of fury. I mean, he's also super experienced. Everyone's last one's last fight was a win. One's last fight was a loss. Yeah, Diego lost a close decision to Mosar Evelev, and that's why everyone fell in love with him. I mean, he took the guy in a short notice fight to 3 rounds and gave him a tough fight. And then he went on, submitted Gavin Tucker, and KO'd Sabatini. So he's fun to watch. Now, here's the issue. It's a 3-round fight. And this is where it's going to be one of those, who's the one that's going to climb the ranks? Because Sadiq lost to Edson Barbosa, which if you're a future champion, featherweight, you can't be losing to Edson Barboza. He's also lost to Arnold Allen. Nothing to take away from Arnold Allen because Arnold Allen is like top 3, top 4 in the featherweight division. So at the time, tough fight. So this fight comes down to who's going to be the one that moves on to fighting against the top. Because Diego lost against Mosar, but that was short notice. So I think Diego beats Sadiq and takes his number. Just by the sheer case of I've seen him when he has to main event. I've seen him when he has to fight a top 10 guy. And it doesn't go through. At least Diego Lopez brought the fight to Mosar and did everything he could. And then he went on to like smash the next 2 guys. I think he just builds on this momentum, gets the number 13 rank, and then he just tries to get that fight with Mosar back, and then eventually for the title. Age-wise, though, how old is he? I go put his age on? It's kind of crazy. Don't you think age would be a factor? We're not trying to age shame people. Oh, man. He is 29. So, yeah. I mean, he's not old at all. Yeah, I'm going to go Diego Lopez. Okay. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. At first, I thought Kayla was going to go in here and just, like, smash the girl. But thinking on it, I think Holly Holm actually just rides this to a decision. This might be a boring fight. So if you guys are looking for a time to get drinks or popcorn or something, this is the fight. The reason being is in order for Kayla to take Holly Holm down. Oh, sorry. In order for Kayla to take Holly Holm down, she's going to need to use wrestling. And I think Holly's takedown defense is going to be good enough to clench up with Kayla, put her against the cage, and then just kind of hold her there in dominant position against the cage. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Holly touching her. Kayla tries to close the distance. Holly stuffs the takedown, pins her against the cage. A little bit of work, break. They break out, and then touch, tries to take her down. Doesn't. And it's just perpetually that. On top of that, the reason why I feel like that's going to happen more than Kayla just explosively closing distance and taking Holly down is the cut to 135. Kayla's never cut to 135. She says she feels amazing, and she looked great physically. As far as she looks like she's going to make 135, and she's in shape, and she looks like she took it serious for however allotted time she needed for it, to get down in weight, make sure she maintained her cardio, her muscle, her explosiveness, all while dropping weight. She probably did all the right, things, especially being an Olympic athlete. However, she's never made it. She's never done the cut. And Holly's done it multiple times, won a world championship in that division, so it would be on Kayla Harrison to go in there and prove to everyone that she's going to be the champion of the division. But that Brazilian girl in PFL gave her a hard time. You want to believe it. You want to believe, oh, this is the next big thing coming from another organization, but like Michael Venom Page kind of vibes. Obviously not, obviously not the same thing. But you're hoping that it's like, oh, this person's going to come in here and shake things up, Michael Chandler wise. No, I don't think so. I think if that one girl in PFL gave her a hard time, everyone in the top 5 of the bantamweight division gives her a hard time. I mean, obviously there are girls that she might stack up better against, but then it's like you have to beat the weight cut and then fight those girls. Have fun. All right, Aljamain Sterling versus. Oh, I'm going Holly Holm. So Holly Holm, people. I don't even know if she's the underdog, but Holly Holm. Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. At first, I was like, man, maybe Aljo will be good at this weight because he doesn't cut down to 135. He looks physically good. Let me pull up that. Let me pull up Aljo. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Look at this. Like, clearly, he was cutting a lot of weight. It's in his legs. You can see it in his legs. Like, I feel like, crap. I feel like that's gonna be a big. That's gonna be a big. That's a for those that don't know, that's a big benefit is to be able to have your legs 100%, like them not be weak at all from the weight cut or from any of the like you're trying to work them out, but you don't have the same energy. Like if you can just, oh man, what a great, you can get a lot of power. I mean, everything starts in the legs and the feet. So if you feel like you can move great for 3 rounds and not feel labored, awesome. My concern with it all is this. Aljo said that his last fight with Sean wasn't him. He was overextending all this stuff. That's not the way he fought. It's a lot of cope for me where you should be going, man, I need to work on my boxing because clearly that's what got me. Instead, you're going, oh man, that's not who I am. I box better than that. It's like, not really. I've never seen a fight that proves that. And then you're going to go and fight a boxer who, when Calvin Kattar hasn't fought a 3-round fight in forever. And there's not really a lot of wrestlers in the division, to be honest. But, yeah, I just think it's yeah, I think it's just I'm trying to find a guy who Moicano might have wrestled him. Can I look at this fight? No, I don't want to look at Moicano. Recap. Obviously, this is like so long ago. He didn't get any takedowns, so it's not a takedown thing. Let's see recently. Let's go the Josh Emmett fight because Josh Emmett won, and Josh Emmett. No takedowns. He had four attempts. So it's all striking. And so that's where I go, so where do you think you're gonna outbox Calvin Kattar? I think this is a terrible matchup. There's probably someone else better in the division for him to go against. An Edson Barbosa, if you will. But you take Calvin Kattar. Obviously, he's number 2 in the bantamweight division, so it's not like you have a lot of choices. But you're going to fight the guy that you lost your last fight. Like, stylistically, you got exposed in your last fight. Like, he beat you pretty convincingly. To the fact that you had to move up a division because you knew you weren't getting a rematch. I think Calvin Kattar takes this. The fact that he's an underdog, I mean, he's the most comfortable underdog I see on this card. For me, he's the most comfortable. That's kind of wild. It's kind of bananas. He's an underdog, to be honest. Obviously, it's because of what Aljamain's done, but stylistically, it doesn't really make any sense for Aljamain to fight this guy. Everyone could say, oh, but Aljamain's grappling is so good. He's going to take him down. He's going to choke him out. Oh, no. Wish I could put. I need to put do not disturb on. Oh man, I am. There we go. So yeah, I think there's not one thing that shows me that Aljamain's gonna take Calvin Kattar down. If you had a hard time taking 135ers down, have fun taking 145ers down. Just doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. And if you couldn't close the distance on, I'm just saying, if you couldn't close the distance on Sean O'Malley, have fun with Calvin. I know he's it was bad. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. And then you have Jiri Prochazka and Alexander Rakic to close out the prelims. Man, what an interesting fight. Alexander Rakic, you don't really see much of him. His last fight, he lost to Jan. But it was like he like hurt his leg. But other than that, he's not the most exciting fighter. But he gets them wins. He was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fight winning streak till he lost to Jan. 7 fight winning streak before he fought Jan. So Jan was his first only true test in the light heavyweight division of like current competitors, and even then Jan's kind of, he's still there, but Yuri's going to be his first test of like the guys that are obviously he's top 2. He's second in the world. He just fought for the title, just had the 3 fights in a row, as well as everything else before that. So this is going to be Rakic's first true test of like a guy who just had the belt and is number 2. So whoever wins this is most likely going to fight for the title next. And I think that Alexander Rakic, oh man, he's a favorite. Put your money on Jiri, dude. No, put your money on Jiri. Never mind. I was going to say, well, I could see, I can very much see Alexander Rakic winning. It's not going to be exciting. But he's very, very good. He's extremely good. But the fact that Yuri's an underdog is crazy. Because the Yuri's untraditionalness is what would make me go. It's like it's a double-edged sword. It's like being untraditional at the lighter weight classes is more of like you're going to harm yourself because technique is going to outdo being unorthodox. Where being unorthodox as a heavier fighter with the ability to knock anyone out at any time actually kind of helps you. At the lower weight class, you kind of get exposed because technique over everything, because you don't have that ability. Unless you have really good technique, you're not sitting people down with one shot. And then at the higher weight classes, it's like you can sit anyone down with any shot. So maybe being unorthodox is the way to go. So the fact that Jiri's a underdog, I'd go Jiri. Yeah, I'd just go Jiri. And the fact that Alexander Rakic's going to try to keep it very technically kickboxing, technically wrestling. It's like Jiri just doesn't wait for that. He doesn't wait for you. He just goes. He goes. He's like, enjoy everything. Enjoy a knife. Enjoy a gun. Enjoy it. Like, he just throws everything at you. Whereas Alexander Rakic is very just like fencing, wrestling. It's like he's in and out, and like in that state. And then he leaps in, tries to do some combination, maybe gets whatever. Whereas like Jiri's just a whirlwind of violence and weapons just getting thrown at you constantly. It's like front kick up the middle, jumping elbow, spinning elbow to jumping side kick. So you just kind of have to, at the heavier weight classes, especially for 3 rounds, if you can just keep that up for 3 rounds, and he's not incompetent on the ground, All right, so Jiri, I have Jiri. Yeah, Then you have Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. You have Bo Nickel as a 2,100 favorite. The reason why he's probably a favorite is the fact that Cody Brundage is... His last fight was by Slam. Slam! And then Malkoon was beating him before getting a DQ. Or no, that was a really quick DQ. One win, loss, win. So 4 losses in a row. I mean, he is tested. I mean, Bo Nickel is quote unquote special in the way of, oh man, he's a phenomenal athlete, wrestler. He does something that I thoroughly hope that a lot of fighters do. George does it in Canada, so I know it's a big deal there, but I can't really I can't quantify how big of a deal it is. But Bo goes and trains with the guys at Penn State. Like, he does practice with them. And if you're maintaining practice with collegiate level athletes every day, or at least how many times a week he goes, you're going to be in really good shape. You're also going to learn a lot of things. It would be like doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with the Mendes brothers every day, like Cheeto does. So I really think that's a big benefit. I think fighters should do that. They should go to their local wrestling club and really commit, put the wrestling shoes on, and go for it. Yeah, man. I mean, Bo Nickel has the gift. You watch him fight; he's got good eyes. He's in and out with his style. I haven't seen him tested, so I have no idea. Is he worth a 2,100 favorite against a guy? Probably not, to be honest. That's kind of wild in the sport to be a 2,100 favorite when both people bleed blood. I mean, not one person's an alien on this guy. Okay, maybe Yuri is probably the closest to like a guy from another point in history, but everyone's a human. So when you go, he's a 2,100 favorite, I go, what's to say Cody at middleweight doesn't just hit him with a jab and shut him out? It could happen. Cody slammed his last opponent and knocked him out. Just on that, I would put money on Cody because it's fucking of course. But if you're not putting money on the fight, or if you just want to know who's probably going to win technically, obviously Bo Nickel. I mean, he's got everything in his favor, but it's a fight. I don't know Bo's dog. I don't know what happens when someone puts him on his back and starts to punch him in the face. And so I know what happens with Cody. Cody sometimes will fight, sometimes he's, at least I know. At least I can go, I don't know, when 1,100's kind of crazy. But yeah. Put money on Cody, man. You don't have to cheer for Cody. You can be like, let's go, Bo. I'm a big fan, and just put money on Cody, man. The fact that he's 1,100 here. Now that it's legal in North Carolina, let's go. So if I go Cody, man, Cody to win by submission in the third round is a 1,700 to third. Man, could you imagine? 1,300. So Cody by submission second round. Let's say he beats up Bo Nickel for the first round, gets him tired, $1,300. I put $100 down, dude. I'm $13,000 richer. That to me is crazy because that could literally happen. And even if it just happens in the first round, I just put like $100 down on each one of them. I mean, that's bananas. So yeah, put money down on Cody Burns. Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira. Arman Tsarukyan, heavy favorite. I mean, they both just decimated Beneil Dariush. Everyone's like, man, Beneil's really having his thing. He's coming back. He's beating all these guys. Everyone's the next big thing. And they were like, man, Charles versus Beneil on the ground's going to be crazy. And then it goes to the ground, and it was like, all right. And then Charles, in the fight, I don't know if you guys remember Charles versus Beneil, but in the fight, Charles kind of just like gets up. Like he's playing on the ground, and then he kind of just like stands up when he feels like it. I think that's so. It just kind of shows that there wasn't really an issue on the ground. It was more of a, or there wasn't. It was like it showed that there wasn't really it wasn't like they were equal on the ground. It kind of looked like Oliveira knew what he was doing at lightweight. So like when you watch here, see Dariush is doing a job. I mean, his arms coming across, he's smashing him, he's trying to keep, and you're like, wow, Dariush is doing a good job on top. Charles is just holding him out. But like, what damage? So he starts throwing punches, and I'm like, watch. Charles just puts his feet on his hips, kicks him away, and then just casually stands back up, knees him, and then walks him forward. To me, this sequence, I've seen Charles against Islam. He's not like this. This shows to me he's calm. He's cool. He's collected. Beneil must not feel strong. He must not show him something that like Islam must have had. Because he kind of just moves himself through. Look how strong he is here. Beneil's got full tie clench. Charles pulls away. And then look, head kick. He's got to do something crazy. And then head kick. Boom. And then he ends it. He grabs it. When you watch a person, you're out of their league when you can do this to them. This. When you can just grab someone's wrist and just hold it, you're out of their league. No grown man should ever be able to do this to you. He's like holding his hand and punching him. That's what you do to your little brother. It's clearly someone who knew they had all the advantage to the guy. He just like kind of started slow. Then you have Arman Tsarukyan. Now Arman versus Beneil is a little bit Arman Tsarukyan versus Beneil is a little bit Arman's a little bit more like cautious. He's trying to win foot position. He's trying to win everything. Foot position, get as many strikes as possible. And he just he steamrolls him in the way that a top contender is doing it. He just goes in there with the finish. Like, I need to get this title matchup. I need to get this number 4. And I mean, that's beautiful. But that's what someone that is a number 4 in the world should be doing to Dariush. Just saying. That's I see that and I go, well, yeah, why'd you put Dariush in there with him? So to me, this is more of the interesting fight. Charles versus Arman. Does Arman do what most Russians do to Charles? And that's just, well, one Russia. Just get on top. And I know Arman's not Russian, but he's Eastern Bloc European wrestling base. Armenian. On top of that, he trains in California with Gracie Baja, Nijem, I forget, but he in King's MMA, or I don't know if he's at King. I don't know where he's at anymore. I think he's actually in Armenia or something. Anyway, I think he's fighting out. I think he's training out of the country. But I mean, he's either going to ride Charles like a horse, like Khabib said. He ride Charles like a horse, or he's going to give Charles too much space, and Charles is going to capitalize and catch him in a submission. I love Charles's fighting ability, and I think Charles's fast-paced finishing is going to give Arman a very hard time. Now, the one time I could see that being a problem for Arman and him turning around was the Joseph Alvarez fight, where Joseph came in there and he was very, he gave him some problems at first, but then, Joel Alvarez. No, wait, no, Joaquim Silva. No, I was right. The Joaquim Silva fight. I messed them up. So, like, Joaquim Silva gave him some trouble at first, and then he turned it around. That's the one. Like, doesn't he drop him or something? I could have sworn he, like, dropped him or something. But the problem is all these guys, they don't have the grappling prowess, or they're not as light on the feet as they're not as light on the film. Sorry, as Charles is, and I think he's just going to go forward and he's going to try to knock Arman out. But I understand why Arman's a favorite. I mean, he is the new wave. Him versus Islam Makhachev. He gave Islam his hardest fight. For those that don't know, let me just throw some highlights of that up. Look at that. That's Islam Makhachev. He's doing that to Islam. But then Islam hit this beautiful sweep. Watch this shit. Watch. Ooh. Watch the sweep. Boom. He's pushing in. Knee. Boom. I think Arman goes for a knee, and that's what messes him up. I mean, this is a gruel. Like, could you imagine having a fight like this against a guy that could just trip you at any moment? This is tough. This is a tough fight. I mean, for those that don't realize, this is like a real tough position to be in. Yep, one knee. Gets him to knee again. No, wait, that's not what the trip is. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. Boom. Look at that beautiful trip. All the way to a single. And he's back up to his... I mean, you look at the difference between Arman fighting Islam versus Charles fighting Islam. Like, this guy's just not allowing Islam, not giving him any chance to... But what is this fight? It's mostly grappling, right? And that's where I think that's going to give Arman some trouble. Arman allows people to kind of dictate the grappling. And so if Arman goes down to the ground, I'm afraid that he gives Charles a little bit of, like, he allows him to dictate it. So I'm going to go with Charles. I personally think that this is going to be a chance of Charles big brothering Arman, just like he did Beneil, showing that he's the champ or the champ has a name. But, I can understand why Arman is the favorite. I'm going Charles, though. Justin versus Max. Listen, there's a lot of questions about this fight as far as, oh man, maybe Max beats Justin because he's putting on the weight. No. I think Justin kicks the shit out of Max's legs and then knocks him out. If Justin isn't the first one to knock him out, Ilia Topuria is going to be the first one. I think this was a terrible matchup. I think Justin's going to use footwork, kick out Max's legs, not allow him to use his footwork. And then what I know from Justin, as far as Justin that fights now, the one that fights for a title, the one that fights for legacy, not the one that slangs and bangs like he was in the World Series of fighting. This Justin will allow Max to close distance and then use that to circle off, find an angle, and make him pay for it. He did it against Tony Ferguson. He did it against Dustin Poirier in his last fight. Um, I think his footwork's too good, and Max is very forward-moving pressure and kicking and all that's great, but that works at featherweight against guys that he can use his height and reach against. I think Justin just stays on the outside, uses light footwork, kicks Max's legs out from under him, and then ends with a hook upstairs. All right. And then moving on to Zhang Weili versus Yao Xiaonan. This fight, like I said, was probably put together last minute. They needed something because this should have been in China. This should have been a China fight. I do not understand why it isn't. Everyone in the media is saying so. I've been saying it forever. But I just think it's one of those, you needed this fight because everyone else was booked. Which is kind of crazy. You could have been Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena for this. I don't like that fight in comparison to this one. This one, matchup wise, is way, I love it. However, as to save the hype for this for China, it would have been worth putting in Juliana Pena versus Raquel Pennington. But I think Weili wins. Nothing crazy about this fight. I have no oh my god, I think just Weili wins. She's just a better all-around fighter than Yao or Yan. Yan is great. She's got great wrestling, great takedown defense. Sets up her strikes really nice. Team alpha male. I just think Weili is so dynamic, so good everywhere. And then on top of that, she's like a martial artist. She's like a very George St. Pierre-ish for the women's division. Then you have the main event. Alex Pereira, Poatan versus Jamahal Hill. Sweet dreams, Hill. So, I will acknowledge, Jamahal Hill's got some great striking. I watched his past fights. Ooh, he looks good. He does look good, and he brings the fight, man. He can knock people out. He's confident in himself. He's long. He plays to his range as well. The only loss he has is against Paul Craig in guard. And then same thing with Muhammad Ankalaev. Or Ankalaev. I forget his name. I don't know. I mean, I still count that against him. John Jones would never let that happen to him. I mean, Vitor almost broke his arm off, and Jones was like, "Fuck no." So I think Jamahal Hill sees a path to victory. He sees that I can just hit him with my right hand, like Izzy did. And he went to Izzy for help, and Izzy's like, I got you. This is what you do. You shell up against the fence, and you throw a Hail Mary. I was practicing it all camp. I was like, that's not the way to beat him. The right hand is there, for sure. And Alex is doing his best to try to, shore up those defenses. But this is where I think this is Jamahal Hill's fighting uphill. And I think this is where Jamahal Hill's going to be in his own head. One, Jamahal Hill said, I'm going to stand with this guy. I'm not going to take him down. And so Jamal's feeding into his own ego. I think Alex is in Jamal's head because he said that. If you put your ego aside, or if you don't want to let your ego in your way, then you say Jamal, or then you say, I'm going to take him down. Easy as that. I'm going to take him down. He's got no ground game. I'm going to submit his ass. I'm not going to stand up with him. Are you out of your mind? And then 2, his ankle. Like his Achilles. How does his Achilles handle what he's gone through, Especially Alex. He's going to leg kick. He's going to calf kick the shit out of him. And Alex has been working on a southpaw. You see it in his pad holding. I mean, I don't have to really say much for Alex. Alex went in there. He's the light heavyweight champion. He won the title not that long ago. Jamal's been inactive. He came in here probably out of shape. His whole camp was probably trying to fight the weight down. I think he's in his head. I think Alex is going to win. I think Jamahal probably could put up a good fight, but I just think all these external factors are going to get in his way mentally, and that's why I think, I think Alex by left hook or something crazy. So yeah, those are my picks. I got Figgy, I got Jim Miller, I got Jessica Andrade, Jalen Turner, Diego Lopez, Holly Holm, Calvin Cater, Yuri Prohashka, Bo Nickel, but put money on Cody Brundage, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje, Whaley, and Alex Pereira. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, Southern Scrap Nation, big news coming soon. November, we might, come join the team. November, potentially, actually have the location. Big space. Big things to come, potentially. Tempered excitement. SouthernScrapNation.com. Check out the YouTube links in the description for the website and everything. Thank you again. I've been your host, as always, Daniel Jonas. Until next time, peace.